So on the previous session, we have learned how to send an email, correct? From the send flow. Now today we will discuss about sender profile and delivery profile. Now first let's discuss about sender profile. Just open, let us open the same email which we have sent on the previous session. We have used this email, right? To sending the email. Okay. So what is the meaning of sender profile? Now, so let's say if you want to send any email to the subscriber, then you need to you need to register a valid email, right? Because if you want to send any email to any of the person, then you have to first of all, how should email go? From any email address, right? You're receiving any email, let's say. So let's say whenever we are receiving any kind of email, right? Not on the Salesforce, let's say you're receiving the email from Google, let's say you're receiving the email from the Facebook, from the LinkedIn, from the Amazon, right? Like let's say on the promotion email, I'm receiving the email from here, right? So always remember there is one sender email address. Okay. There will be one sender email address that will always be there. But over Google Space. So what is the email address? Workspace.google.com, right? If you're receiving the email from, let's say, from McDonald's, right? From KFC. So they will always send you email, but there will always an email address by which you are getting any kind of email. So that is known as sender profile. How that particular email we can create with the help of sender profile, we can create this kind of emails. Let's say I'm getting this email from the ICICI bank, right? So ICICI live.com. That is something the email address, and that is the name, right? By, by default, if you're sending the email as a system generated, but one email should also be there, right? From which we are getting any kind of email into our email inbox, Gmail inbox. So that is the thing. How can we add this kind of functionality while sending the email inside a marketing cloud? Let's say I'm getting this email from the marketing cloud. So what is the email address? No reply @MC marketingcloud.salesforce.com. That is a name. Similarly, if I want to send any email, so we have to create a sender profile for this particular reason. How to create a sender profile? First of all, let me show you where we can select. If you click on send, so that is the first option in the defined properties. What we have led on the previous topic, sender profile line. Let me selected default. If I select this email right now, what it will display the name, Northern Trade Outfitters, and from email, phorgops@salesforce.com. Okay. this email it will use and this particular name it will use. Okay. Always remember that is a valid and genuine email. You cannot add a fake email, right? Because if you add a fake email, then you cannot able to send the email to any of the subscribers. Makes sense, correct? Because let's say I'm getting this particular email from the no reply at mc.salesforce.com, but that is a genuine email. That is not a kind of fake email. So they are sending. Let's say if I'll open this particular email again, that is the ICICI It is a genuine email. It is not a kind of fake email. You cannot make this kind of scenario in the marketing cloud. So how to create a sender email? So there are four ways to create a sender email. First of all, this user. Second, custom. Third one is personalization stick, personalization, and fourth one is name script. Defines a row, from name, and from email address. From which name we are getting the email, and from which email address we are getting the email address.
What is the AMP script?
AMP script, Chandu, is a kind of scripting language which we will use in the marketing cloud. I have already discussed the scenario of the AMP script in the last module. Okay. I've only covered the basics of the like AMP script. Some use case scenarios we will discuss later on. But the basic idea is AMP script is a kind of language, a scripting language that we will use in the marketing cloud. Okay. So now how we can create a sender profile? So there are two ways for creating a sender profile. You can go to the admin section. And on the left hand side, as you can see, there is an option named as send management. And inside send management, there is an option named as sender profile. Click on this particular link. And here we can able to create a sender profile. And the second option is you can also create by going to the setup. Just over on this your like your logo and go to the setup. And on the setup, mm, okay. In the setup, there is an option in the email studio you can find sender profile. It totally depends on you. If you want to create it from here, you can create it as if you want to create from your content builder, you can also create.
Is this where you set up an email or a profile for like no reply email? If you want to send an email that's come from a no reply account, is that where you change the sender profile?
Exactly. We can change from the sender profile.
Okay.
Actually, I want to show you something. Let's say these emails I have sent from this marketing cloud, right? Exactly the same marketing cloud. And by default, in this particular marketing cloud, the sender profile, what we have mentioned, we will receive the mail exactly the sender name as well as sender email. Exactly, we will receive at the default. Yes. If I go to the send. Now just read it out here. Here in the default, the default sender profile, what is the name and email address it is mentioned? Northern Trail Outfitters, and this is the email ID, right? phorgps@salesforce.com. Now, when I send the email, just read it out here, the name and email address. Northern Trail Outfitter is the name. It is exactly the same name what here it have mentioned. And it's the exactly same email address. The email address where I'm getting the email. Okay. That is something that always will be valid, right? Because if you want to send any email, just think it logically. If you want to send any email, then you have a valid email address, right? If I say, let's say, if I say Chandu, just send me an email. So while sending email, if you want to send any from the any tool, or if you want to send directly from your Gmail or Yahoo, you might be using any kind of tool, like say Marketing Cloud. But you should have your valid email address, right? Because that particular email address will be connected. That is something a sender email address. While sending the email, what will be the name it will mention to the subscriber, and what will the email address, so subscriber can identify from where I'm getting the email, right? Let's say if you're sending any payment confirmation email to the subscribers, so subscriber always check. It is not like that we are, if I want to do any payment to any of the company, so we will not do, we always not do directly, right? We don't blindly trust to anyone. Might be there is a like fake call, they are giving me offers and they say just do your payment within 10 minutes, else this thing will expire. So it is not like that we always do the friendly payment. First of all, we always check, correct? We always check what is the email address and what is the name, where from where we are getting this email. So this is something we always need to create from, like when the subscriber can able to see from where they are getting the email address, right? And that is something we have to set in the sender profile. Okay, now moving back to topic again. Now we can create the sender profile from four ways. First one is users, second one is custom, third one is personalization, fourth one is MP skill. Now let's talk about the users. Users, you can again you can use sender profile from two ways. On the email studio, go to admin and click on sender profile, and you can create a new one, or else you can go to the setup over on email studio. Sorry, set email studio, click on sender profile. Both the same way. You can create from either any of the way. So let me click on this create button for creating a sender profile. Let's say I'll give the name. Let's say sample sender profile 14th of March. Okay. Now the users means we can select from the list. They choose from the list, we can select from the list, right? By default, it is by default email address and sender name, as I can see, right? As you can see, it is a default one, right? Email name and from name and from email. That is the default one. Okay. The user sender profile can be only able to create it from the admin access. If you have the full admin access, then you can create a user sender name and email address. So let's say I am the user, and let's say I told to the admin, so please create my sender profile. So the users who have the full admin access, they can easy able to create their sender profile. Okay? That is something we use very rare, but second one is custom. Custom is the thing that we can create manually by our own. So for creating the custom, select the second option, use the specified information. Select this one. Now On the form name, just give your name, and from the email address, give your a valid email address. On the form name, let's say I'm just typing a name, let's say Samsung, right? This email is coming from the Samsung company. And from email address, give a valid email address, because when you will give a email address, you have to click a verify button. And after click on verify button, you will receive a email link from the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and you have to verify it. Let's say I will give this email address, and this email address is already registered in the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Okay, copy and paste. Now by default, it will mention here verified. Why? Because see, I cannot able to verify. Why? Because I have already verified this email address in this Marketing Cloud. If you have already verified any particular email address, then this verified button will be pop up. Now I cannot able to click this button. Let's say if I change any particular email address, then I can click on the verify button. I don't know this email address is valid or not. See, now there's a verify button is here, right? But I don't know this is a valid email address. I'll give against the same email address. Now again it will become as verified. See, that is a concept. So if you're given any fake email address, so that it will not work, right? You need to mention a valid email address. And you can click on save, and we can able to send a profile inside a marketing cloud tab. The center profile is created successfully. Now let me show you one more thing. Again. If you remember yesterday, while testing the email, just check it out from where I'm getting the email. It's malvi@gmail.com. Anshu, right? Anshu is my previous student and candidate in my previous session of the marketing cloud. That was my student. So I have used the delivery email from the Anshu. Okay. At that particular time, while sending the email yesterday, if you remember on the test send, we have sent this email to, I think I've sent to Chandru and Messina, you as well. Have you ever noticed from which email address and from which name you're getting the email? From Anshu, we have got the email, and the email address, we have used this email address, right? This is the sender profile you can able to find. See, now just read it out. Name is Anshu, and from email is this. So this is the genuine email of the Anshu. So while doing the assignment, Anshu has created this particular uh, sender profile while doing the assignment, and I use the sender profile for sending the email. Any questions? Is it clear, the sender profile?
Yeah.
Yes.
What kind of questions would come up in the email specialist exam about sender profile?
Sender profile
Or specific to sender profile, delivery profile kind of questions?
in the delivery profile, they can ask the question about the IP address, but in the sender profile, they can ask the direct question. Might be like they will always give you the options. So they will like to ask you kind of scenario-based question, actually.
Okay.
On the sender profile, they can ask a scenario-based question like this is my scenario and how can I able to solve it. So you can say I can create a sender profile and we can do like we can send an email for a particular user, sorry, for the subscriber, right? Because in the same marketing cloud, because client will not purchase the multiple marketing cloud, right? So they can create a multiple sender profile. Like let's say they have created a one sender profile for the payment confirmation. They have created a one sender profile for the advertisement. They have created
Yeah.
any other sender profile for the running of the campaign, correct?
Yeah.
The third one is personalization. Personalization is the one that to show you where we can create the personalization. Here we have to create the personalization string. I think my sender profile is now visible over there. I think it's visible. I created a sample sender profile. You have to refresh, then it will be visible. My sender profile, but that can here. 14th March. Let's say in the add in the form name, if I give person sign, let's say first name, person sign, and same as in the email address, I will do the same functionality. Okay. There is no more option is visible. By writing this personalization string in my form name and form email address, two more option is visible. Use fallback email address, and here I can use fallback address. Now, what is the personalization string? How I can use inside my center profile? Now, let's say I will give the scenario. Just like listen to a scenario very carefully. Let's say my client, whatever my client said, say they have the insurance-based company, correct? Let's say ABC is the company name, and they are providing the insurance services. So let's say I have three marketing cloud. Sorry, let's say I have three main users. Let's say three insurance agents are there in the company. Let's say first is Hasina, second is Chandu, and third is Sonam. I have three agents in my company, insurance agent. And let's say for my client, for the Hasina is managing five multiple businesses. Let's say business one till business five, correct? And Chandu is also managing five businesses. Let's say from the business six till business 10. Same as Sonam is managing the businesses from let's say business 11 to business 15. Basically, they are the clients of the Hasina. Five clients Hasina is dealing. So six, five clients Chandu is dealing, and five clients Sonam is dealing, right? Now, whenever Hasina will deal with any of the client, right? So Hasina always want when client will like from B1 to B5, whenever they will receive the email, so the sender name and the sender email address should be the Hasina's one, correct? Similarly, this criteria will fit on the Chandu and Sonam scenario as well, right? Let's say Sonam want to send an email to their client. So Sonam don't want when Sonam is sending the email, so the Chandu or Hasina email address should be mentioned. Only the Sonam email address should be mentioned on the sender email, correct? If this type of scenario is there in my company, so what we can do, we can create a separate data extension for this, and we can create a record for Hasina, Chandu, and Sonam, right? And by sending the email, we can select our uh, by sending the email, we can select our that particular data extension. And by sending the email, whenever we will send the email, from name will be exactly mentioned whatever the detail inside the data extension will be there. From name, from email address, it will take from a data extension, and by default, it will show to the subscriber. By default, it will be visible to the subscribers. Again, I'm repeating one more time. Whenever I will create this type of sender profile, by sending the email, let's say I'm selecting my sender profile, right? So here it will mention a person sign. So while sending the email, if in my data extension, this type of sender name and email address is there, in my data extension is there. Let me open one more data extension and then we will make a more clarity. Okay, let's say this is my data extension, right? And here I have one field as email, and form and first name, right? I know why I have already a first name field. Let's assume. Let's say I have first name field. Let me change it. Let's make it like this way. Okay, now in my particular data extension, I have two field like this way: first name sender and sender email, right? And inside the first name sender email, which record is there? Let's say this particular data extension is used by the sonam. So which record is there? Sonam record will be there, right? So while sending the email, because we have to select later on the select audience, we have to select a particular data extension, correct? In this data extension, whenever we are selecting the data extension, so while sending the email, it will by default fetch the record from the data extension and it will fit inside my form name and form email address. Okay. So while sending the email, after sending the email, customer can able to see the Sonam name and Sonam email address. Okay. That is something we can create the scenario from the personalization list. Allow dynamic population of form name and form email address. All data must be in one data source, and that is data extension. Is it good? Clear?
Yeah. Yes.
Chandu, Sina, Sonam. All clear?
Yes.
But right now I cannot able to show you because I have to add your record inside the data extension. Now there is one more option, use call verified fallback address. Now let's say because inside form name and form email address, now I'm not verifying it, right? Now here I don't have any option to verify this email address and from sender name and from sender email address, correct? Because in my data extension, as you know, I can able to add where's my data extension? I think I have missed it there. So as you know, in the data extension, I can able to add a fake email address as well, correct? So let's say might be by mistake, I have in my data extension, I have mentioned the wrong email address of the Sona. So when I send the email will not be delivered, right? Because if there is no verified email address, so how can I send the email? So for that particular option, we have one more option, use verified fallback address. So might be if your data extension, if your data is wrong, so if the email will deliver from this email address. Because this is verified and now I can able to deliver from this email address. So might be Sonam or Chandu or Hasina email address is wrong inside the data extension record. So by default, it will take this email address for sending the email. Okay, that is something known as use verified fallback address. Right? Let me go to this thing. Okay, save. All right, that is all about the sender profile. Let me just check my sender profile and the email content. And sample sender for 14 plus. Samsung is the name which I have given, and this is my email address. Like this way, we can create multiple sender profiles. Now let's come to the topic of the delivery profile. Domain verification we have done, right? Because we have to verify our email address. Delivery profile. Now again, same as sender profile, we have another option named as delivery profile. And delivery profile you can create from again from the two sides. Either you can create from the email studio or you can create from the setup. Now, let's say if I try to create a delivery profile, you can click on create button and we can create a delivery profile. But before creating delivery profile, you have to understand something. Delivery profile is something that we are not using right now because that is only for the classic content. Because right these days we are not using classic content, so we have to use header and footer criteria, right? So in the delivery profile, what we mentioned the uh, physical email address, or physical email address, and the address of the customers, right? And the address of the my client address, and unsubscribe link will be there, update profile will be there. So this is known as my delivery profile. But by default these days, because we are not using a classic content, so by default it will be there because as you know, I've already told you, while sending the email, it will always check the canned spam rule. After sending the email, it will show you this information, right? The email was sent by person send member, business name, person send person member address. As you can check, this email was sent by Northern Trade Outfitter, right? This is my delivery profile from where I am getting this email address. So these days, by default, it will attach on your email content. If you haven't used your delivery profile, so you cannot able to send your email. Okay. And this is something it is created by your admin portal. If you remember, I go to the admin section and I told you how to edit your physical email address. That is your delivery profile. But there is one thing I need to know, that is IP address. The concept of IP address in the delivery profile. It is something very important. So let's say I will create a delivery profile as a sample delivery profile. Okay. Now here I have two options of the IP address. First one is account default, second one is private. Now if I try to set on the private, I am not able to select. Why? Because I haven't purchased the private IP address. If I will purchase the private IP address from the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, because I have to give the extra payments for this, so I can purchase the private IP address. What is the difference between private and account default? Now, if you know the concept of the IP addresses, of if you know the concept of the content networking, so I think might be you know the concept of the IP addresses. If you don't know, just let me explain you one thing. Whenever you are requesting anything, or it might be you're sending, or might be you're receiving the data, so always you are receiving from the IP address. Okay. So on your marketing cloud tool as well, there is an IP address. Right? See, if you don't might be if you don't know the concept of the IP address, so it is a little bit tricky for you to understand. But just understand one thing, that all the servers have the IP address. Right? You cannot able to send any request, or you cannot able to get any response if you don't have a valid IP. Right? So same, let's say Instagram has its own IP address because they are the servers, and Salesforce Marketing Cloud is also the server, so they have their own IP addresses. Okay. Now let's always remember Salesforce Marketing Cloud has its own IP address. Similarly, let's say Chandu is using Salesforce Marketing Cloud for his own organization, and Sonam is using Marketing Cloud for her own organization. So Chandu has different IP address, Sonam has different IP address, right? Because they are using the different servers of the Salesforce Marketing. Right? Now, I will give you a scenario. Let's say I'm using the account default, right? So in the account default, what Salesforce Marketing Cloud will do, they will assign the same IP address. Let's say I have two company, we have two companies. One is company from the Chandu side and one company from the Sonam side. Right? Let's say Chandu company name is XYZ and Sonam company name is ABC. Okay. Now let's say if Chandu and Sonam both have purchased the normal subscription of the Marketing Cloud, so they will give the only account default, right? Now let's say Marketing Cloud have given the same IP address to both Chandu and Sonam, right? The same IP address are used by the both Chandu and Sonam. because they're using the account default. They're not using the private IP address. They're not using the account default. They are using the sharing IP address. Now it's completely fine. We can do share IP address. There is no harm. But might be there will be a situation.
These IP is providing Salesforce Cloud or our side, client side?
This IP it will be provided from the Salesforce side, not from the client side. So the client from the Salesforce side, okay?
Okay, okay.
Because you have to purchase it from the Salesforce.
Okay, if I have one server, incoming, outgoing servers, how can I implementation in Salesforce Cloud?
See, now by default, it is already a cloud technology. So why you're creating your own server?
It is not possible to own
It is not
server.
possible in the Salesforce. Here I'm not creating any kind of virtual machine, right? Are you connecting the Salesforce Marketing Cloud to Azure technology or AWS technology?
I did not get yours.
See, it is a public cloud. I'm not using any private cloud right now.
Yeah,
Salesforce
okay.
technology works on the public cloud, correct?
Yeah.
So why should I create my own server?
Okay. Okay.
So
Fine.
IP address will be provided by the Salesforce, right?
Okay.
See, that's the benefit of the using the cloud technology, right? Because we don't have to like create our own servers for using the cloud.
Okay, fine.
Now, I was discussing, let's say the Salesforce has provided the same IP address to the Chandu's organization as well as Sonam organization, right? They are using the shared IP. No harm for using the shared IP. But let me give you a scenario. Let's say Chandu is ran the campaign and Chandu has sent the email to 100,000 subscribers, right? And might be there is some might be in the Chandu's email address, sorry, in the Chandu's email content, there are some like that is not the appropriate content, right? And Chandu's like the when running the campaign of the from the Chandu's organization, all the email has gone to the spam folder, correct? And again, the same scenario happens one more time. Chandu has sent the email, so might be due to some fault in the email content. Again, all the email, let's say Chandu is sending the 100,000 emails to the subscriber, and all the email go to the spam folder. Now, what email server will do? The email server will block the IP address of this particular. See, they don't know where they are getting the email, right? From where they are getting the email. The email server always like always pick the IP address. So they will identify from where, from whose IP we are getting this kind of email. So they will find, okay, like this is the IP, let's say 100.4.2.3, let's say any IP address is written. So what email server will do, they will block this particular IP address. Right? So now if anyone will use this IP address and if they want to send the email, so the email will always go to the spam folder. Now, this time Sony is also using the same IP address because they both are using the shared IP address. Now this time it's Sonam, right? This time if Sonam want to send the email to their subscribers, all the email will go to the spam of the Sonam as well. Although in the Sonam email address, sorry, although in the Sonam email content, there are no like there are no like kind of spam filter bug, right? Because spam, the spam filtering software can identify everything. Any like in the Sonam email address, there are no spam filter bug, but however, Sonam email also is going to the spam folder just because of the same IP, because they are using the same IP. Okay, that is something a drawback for using this shared IP address. Okay, that is something you can able to get from the private IP address. If you're using the private IP address, so your IP address is just assigned to you only. Whatever you are doing, it depends on you because you are not using the shared IP. So you will not pay for any other mistakes. Okay. We always tell to the clients these kind of situations. If the client is ready to pay more, then we select. But this is a very less situation. Like we not face this type of situation all the time. But if the client is paying more and more amounts for that running the campaigns and for generating the leads. So we usually suggest to them that please select the private IP address. Don't use the shared IP address. And it is not mandatory that the IP address is shared to only 2%. This IP address, public IP address, sorry, shared IP address will shared to n persons and n number of the organization. Okay.
Sayed, I have like question. This IP address you said like the shared one. So what would be the percentage? For example, like there are like 100 IP shared address, and how many would be default? I mean, like such kind of cases. You said
This
very
number is
few.
in that is not in my mind. I have to check like how
No,
many.
I'm just saying in percentage. For example, you say with the client. So, for example, if we are suggesting in the organization to go as a marketing cloud admin, for example, in this kind of situation. So, if we want to go for the private one, so there should be a specific, like, amount. Okay, if it is like 1% in 100, then we will go for default one, right? The shared one. But if it is like, I don't know the percentage, so is there any specific percentage and then you decided, or it's just very
No,
less
no,
and
there is not at all a
doesn't?
percentage. See, if you're
Okay.
using the account default IP address, we don't know how many persons are using the same IP.
Okay. So we don't know how many cases, like for example, so it's better to save go for the private one.
Exactly, it's better to go for the private one. See,
Okay.
why choose a private IP? Just because client is like because marketing cloud tool is not a like cheap tool, right? It's the very high cost tool. So
Yeah.
whenever the client choose, then client pay the subscription amount to the marketing cloud. So we always like give the suggestion to the client to purchase the private IP as well, just because their campaign will be safe. Okay,
Okay,
because might be
got it.
they are running the campaigns to the 1 million subscribers, so they are sending the email to the 1 million subscriber, and might be by chance if the 1 million email will go to the spam folder, then let's say how much loss they will bear, how much loss the client will have to bear, right? Because they are
Okay.
paying to the developer, they are paying to me and all the whole team to creating the campaigns and everything, right? To creating the
Okay.
journey, to creating the automation.
Yeah, got it.
Chandu, Hasina, do you have any question?
Where does IP warming come into play?
Sorry.
IP warming?
Actually, I'm not getting your point. Your voice
Oh,
actually is not clear.
I've I've written it in the chat.
Okay, okay.
IPO.
Can you hear me now?
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. What are
You
you
can hear
saying?
me now? Yeah, I was
Yeah,
asking about IP warming.
IP bombing. Okay.
Yeah.
IP
So
bombing. Have you ever
yeah,
used in the marketing cloud?
yeah, so that's when you're sending out emails in batches, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
otherwise, you don't want to send out too many when is it when the IP is new?
So like, what's your question? What do you want to ask?
So how does that come into why? So why do you have to do IP warming?
See, first of all, again, if I want to use IP bombing, so
Yeah.
again, and like it is the same scenario that we, like we can say if you are using IP bombing, so the same scenario is that it is a show like it's a kind of surety that our whole email messages will not go to the spam because it is like a reputation IP
Mm,
address of a reputation that that particular IP address is secure. That particular IP address is not choose by so many of person, and that particular IP address is not blocked by the email servers. Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Because ultimately everything is depend on the email servers. If they rejected your IP address for any concern, so that particular IP address will be blocked. Might be if your IP address is a blacklisted, so your email will not go to the spam as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Say like blacklist is as in like is it how it is like counted that this IP address or this would be blocklisted? For example,
Let
as
me
a
discuss.
user, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was saying like to discuss some other day because that we are not covering the IP address concept, because if I'll tell the IP address whole concept, so it will take so many sessions to cover the whole IP address concept, right? What is the part of the computer networking? IP addresses, subnet, and so many things are there.
No, as a user, I mean, like when we are sending an emails and you said like it's going to the spam when it is considered that regardless of, so is it counted based on the user's behavior or
No,
like,
it
I
is
don't know,
not
I'm just,
found on the based on the use behavior.
okay. Sometimes, when I get the email and then I don't want to see again and I just select and block it.
You
For example.
block and might be use report to the Gmail, right? Might be if you're using the Gmail, if you're the Gmail subscriber, so might be you're getting a kind of email which is in the spam folder, and you always see there is a option name is report. You can report to that email, right?
Exactly, but I don't want to see that email. So normally, as a user, we block it, because I don't want to see it. I don't know there is an option to unsubscribe or something like that. But that email IP address, or there is no kind of threat or something not adhering the policies or something like that.
See,
It's just like a
that
user
is not the
behavior.
part of our concern,
Ah,
because
okay.
email address algorithms is very strict and very hard. It is like it is not the part of our concern. It's the part of the email servers and CAM span net, because they've already set the algorithms. So their algorithm
Mhm.
is working like that way. Not like it is done by automation. It is done automatically. There is no like a physical person who is doing that particular task. It is done automation. It is an automation because just because of the algorithm of the email servers. Okay?
Okay, got it. But this is based on the user behavior. What user is reacting to these emails is based on that. That's
Sometimes, it not all the
okay.
time.
Okay.
Not exactly user behavior, because I am working exactly this type of work only in our organization, because we are sending unwanted mails. Now that time IP max IP record is the blocked. See, it's I have the, for example, uh, my company mail is there, so this
So,
is the valid mail. Again, I am sending unwanted mails, na, like they are not receiving spam mails, that type of mails. That time max records is blocking our IP.
hmm, at that
Record
particular time, right?
not for user behavior. User he was user interested. We need to receive or not receive it. That is the user behavior.
I know that's what I said to Sonam, that
Yeah.
it not depends on the user behavior. Might be let's say if you have run the campaign and so many users have complained, if so many users have report that this particular email is not the proper email and this is not the correct one, something is not something is fishy in that particular email. So if they're reporting to the email Gmail, if they're reporting the email servers, then might be that particular IP will be blocked. But in that case of scenario, but that is like rare. That is rare. Okay.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
All right. Now we have done the sender profile and delivery profile. Now send classification. Last topic for today. See, we have two types of classification for the sending the email. That is commercial and transaction. So here, as you can see, we can select default commercial as well as default transaction. Okay. Now, what is the difference between commercial email and transaction email? Commercial email we are using whenever I want to do any kind of promotion, right? Like this way. And whenever like it's like a form or anything, that is a kind of a commercial email. That is not a transaction email. And always remember whenever we are sending the commercial email, then you have to remember your can spam rules. You have to follow your can spam rule. Like let's say you have to your physical email address, you have a proper email address, and your unsubscribe link always be there, and your profile center. That is something you need to follow if you're sending a commercial email. But if you're using the transaction email, can spam rule will not be activated at that particular time. You can directly send the email for the transaction. But when we are using the transaction email for the payment, if you want if you want to send an email for the payment to your subscriber, then you have to use transaction email. Okay, in the transaction email, there is no hard and fast rule for the all the can spam rules. Okay. And what are different types of can spam rules? You can go to the Google and you can check. You always have to follow the can spam rules. This is an act raised by the government, and it is introduced in 2003, the can spam act. Right. Okay, so that is it. And you have one more exercise, exercise number 3 too. There is only one exercise you need to use send flow. You have to create a sender profile. In this particular assignment, I think I need to create a sender profile. Okay. Now, from the next session, we will start user initiated email. That is a very important topic. I will start second topic, that is user initiated email for the sending. Right. From the 2 session, we have discussed for the send flow, right? On the previous session, I've discussed about the send flow, how we can send the email. Right, this is my send flow. And one thing we haven't discussed about the sender profile and delivery profile in the send flow. Now today we have discussed. Now from the next session, I will teach you about the user initiated email. And in the upcoming session, I will cover the A/B testing. And user initiated email is a very important topic. Why I'm saying it's an important topic? Because in this particular topic, we will learn how we can automate our email. Because it is not like that. We every time we use this send flow for sending the email. Because in future, we always need to do everything in automation way. Correct? Let's say if I give you example, let's say if you're doing your bank transaction, if you're doing anything, so always you are receiving an email and text message, right? So how you're receiving in an automation form. So we will learn on the next module how we can get the user initiated email. Okay. So don't miss the next session. It's very important. It's more important than today's session. Okay, so let's connect on Monday. Bye all. Bye Chandu. Bye Sina. Bye Sonam. Let's connect Monday. Take care. Happy weekend. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Is
Thank
there
you.
no class tomorrow?
For tomorrow, no, tomorrow it's not possible for me. If it's in the weekend, so I will think, but most probably we will meet on Monday.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
sir. Thank you.
And now please do your assignment if you haven't done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.